what should be the case, it shouldn't be that there are Africans ruling over England, but it shouldn't be that there are Englishmen ruling over Africa. Right? The Africans should have self-government. The English should have self-government, and this goes for everyone everywhere. You know, and I'm not saying there can't be exceptional cases of Disraeli or whoever that happens to prove themselves and happens to do an exceptional job. There are always going to be exceptions and edge cases and whatnot. But as a general rule of thumb, it should be that the politicians of this country are native to this country. There are something like 35 MPs who are born overseas. That's mad, isn't it? Mad. How is it possible? Well, the reason that it's possible is because we never had mass immigration. So we were just like, well, obviously you're going to be electing domestic MPs, because what choice do you actually have? Where else are you going to get them from? Well, now we actually need a rule that says MPs have to be born in this country. Or at least have to have, you know, British parents or something. You know, we're going to need some kind of rule, because otherwise, what stops a foreign MP, a foreign politician, coming over here, joining a local colony, getting elected as MP, and then sending state secrets back to their home country or something like this?
Hey guys, we're going to get into another clip with Andrew Gold and Carl Benjamin on Andrew Gold's show, Heretics. Carl Benjamin has got a few more points to make about immigration, what kind of MPs should be running England in the wake of the mass immigration fiasco. This is pretty much a highlight reel of some of the better points made by Carl Benjamin.
I said to him, and he didn't reply to that, I don't think. I don't even remember. But, you know, I said, mate, you guys made it acceptable. It's an amazing feat that you managed to pull off in TV spheres, in the mainstream, everywhere, podcasting, radio, to be able to call people out according to their race, sex, gender, immutable features. How did you not foresee that the right, and as you say, quite rightly in many cases, would go, oh, that's allowed, is it? Oh, you know, rub my hands with this one.
The thing is, it was always kind of artificial that it wasn't allowed, right? Because unfortunately, stereotypes are true.
Yeah, well, some of them, yeah.
They're all true.
They're all true?
They're all based on something, right? So whether they are archaic or not is a different question. But the stereotype doesn't really come around unless there's something to it. And so everyone characterizes groups, man. You know, when you see a guy dressed in a certain way, behaving in a certain way, like hanging around on a street corner, looking shifty-eyed, you're stereotyping right there. But yeah, you should probably be worried about that guy because the stereotype has some reason to it, right? He's probably looking for someone to rob or whatever it is, right? So these are just a part of human nature and how we navigate through society. Like, this is just completely normal. And actually, the liberal order are being like, no, you should treat that guy who is shiftily, hands in his pockets, looking around to steal something from someone, just the same as a little old granny who's pushing her thing. No. These are not the same people. We are not going to get the same behavior out of them. And I am right to have a different opinion of that guy and that grandmother, even though I don't know them, even though I don't know anything about them. There are things you can derive from what they are that tell you about the real world. And you do this all the time. And so this, you know, the sort of like liberals, oh no, there's just individuals, you don't know anything. It's like, I do know something actually. They telegraph information to me and I can have reasonable expectations. Even if those expectations are wrong, that doesn't mean that my thoughts about them were unreasonable.
Yeah, thinking so many things about that and broadly agree, but wondering if it's worth me sort of naming other examples of those things.
I'm not saying in every case
I was going to start
correct,
listing. Right? No, I was going to list correct examples, and I just thought, I don't know. As I was worried before about being clipped by the woke right, I'm now worried about the sort of mainstream clipping of that's actually true. You know, these guys do that, and those guys always do that, and my own people, bloody hell, you know.
But it's not a moral judgment. It's just this is normal, and it's actually abnormal for the liberals to be like, no, you can never make any group judgments. Like, okay, but we do. You know, we always do.
I still think before, or even it doesn't have to be before or after everything else, but for me, you know, front and centre in my mind is creating a British culture we can be proud of, and that to me is the civic nationalism that I'm sure you can agree with as well, even if it's not your priority ahead of other things. But
well, we should have a culture we can be proud of.
No, you know, even if it's it seems stupid and reductive, but British flags, just you know, you go to America, you go to Israel. Everywhere, not British flags, obviously, but American and Israeli.
One day.
but yeah, and we have them up for like a week, and Gary Neville goes and takes them down. You know, and how are you going to get millions of people arriving in this country? How are you going to get them to even try to assimilate?
But the point is not to try and get them to assimilate. Multiculturalism is the opposite of assimilation. It's the opposite of integration. Yeah, is to say no, you deserve your own little cultural colonies of your homelands.
It's actually disgusting.
It's it's literally colonization.
And that is disgusting to the British people.
Yeah,
Whatever we might call it.
colonised.
I'm talking civically and culturally. We're not nationally when I talk to the British people, but it's still disgusting to them.
You're still part of the community, right? As in, you're hanging out with us. You're not doing podcasts with like other Jewish people speaking in Hebrew, right?
I don't speak Hebrew.
Well, exactly. You're
If I did, I'd be doing that.
Yeah, well, you would, because that would be the community that you belong to. That's the bundle of relations that you'd be in. You're in ours, and so you can say, no, the English community should do X, because you are a part of it, even if you personally are not ethnically English. Right? This is the thing. Like, all proper integration is done through this kind of deep sort of community entrenchment, right? You and usually intermarriage, right? You haven't married an English woman, have you?
No.
But, well, you need to think about that. You're going to get deported by Steve.
But neither is Nigel Farage.
That's true, but he's English.
Yeah. I mean, look, I love other cultures.
Me too.
I just don't want them here. But look,
No. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly everyone.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And
well, we agree on that.
but everyone basically agrees on that, right?
No.
Well, no, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's sensible. Normal English people, right? Normal people who are not like radical open border leftists. Everyone basically, yeah, their cultures are interesting. I can't wait to go on holiday, right? That doesn't mean I want a giant colony of them planted next to me, creating an environment that I'm not familiar with. And this is the great misrepresentation that the sort of, the Ed Davey types going further left will make. Oh, you are hateful. It's like, no. I actually think that we have something we should be taking care of, and that's our people, culture, customs, history, nation, political environment, civic life. These are all things that we were gifted from the past, and we look around as products of them and say, actually, we like the people that we are. We're happy with the people that we are. We think we're good and moral people. We work really hard. We pay our taxes. We send our kids to school. We do all of the right things. And so that thing that we inherited from the past must be good. Because we didn't just pop into existence out of nowhere.
Well, some would say it's Christianity. Some would say it's Protestantism.
It's a web of all sorts of things. It's not just, it's Christianity. It's the ancestral habits of the English, so things like Magna Carta and things like this. But it's also the political events that have shaped the country. That have, contingent events. It didn't have to be that we defeated the French at Trafalgar, or the Spanish, the Armada, or something like that. But these contingent events change the course of history, and all of these things are woven into the tapestry of what we are.
And you would say they're passed down genetically or culturally through families?
Well, events are passed down culturally, right? But the thing is interwoven with the genetic history of the people. They are the people.
I get that.
Who carry the culture.
It's got to be a bit of both, I think, because if you are someone whose parents were born in England, but maybe not your grandparent, or maybe not your great-grand, I don't know, and you grow up and you love this country and you learn about all those battles. That's what you are. That is your primary learning experience.
A lot of people served the British Empire and were bound up with their fortunes, their family fortunes, are bound up with the fortunes of Britain and the British Empire, right? Because they believed in the cause. They thought the British Empire was a good thing. And so those people, they're the sort of people that Tommy Robinson is talking about. Where he's like, I don't want them deported. He's like, of course you don't. Why would you want them? They've given good service to the country. Of course you don't want. But by the other hand, there are loads of people who are not in any way contributing or have contributed with service. They're not integrating. They're not intermarrying. They're not working. They're just sponging, and for some reason the government keeps letting millions of them in, and unacceptable.
Race is a dirty, low-resolution, but incredibly robust signal that displays in-group congruency. It says, hey, I can just look at you and tell right away that we are a part of the same ethnic group. I can tell that we're on the same team. It's dirty and low resolution because two people who are of the same race could actually have a greater genetic variability than two people of different races. However, when it comes to phenotype, it's robust because you don't need to understand genetics or have PCR tests to look at someone else and see the same physical phenotypic features that result from generations and generations of shared genetic lineage. So it's a heuristic tool, and it's been used for millennia to identify groups in parallel with cultural references. So the way people dress, the way they behave, etc. But Andrew collapses the distinction between identity politics used by who he refers to as the woke left and actual true identity, just identifying a group of people in a very meaningful way. One of the most effective methods of propaganda is to embed your message in the very framework of the conversation. And Andrew's message is that you should not take anyone on the right seriously if they display value for their ethnic identity. And he embeds that message into the framework by conflating the difference between how the left uses identity, which is superficial, and how the right uses identity, which is foundational. So now if anyone on the right uses their English ethnic identity as a means to justify why they shouldn't allow for mass migration, automatically you won't take them seriously because you'll associate them with the fools on the left and identity politics. That's the real goal of Andrew's statements about the woke left and the woke right, and it's why he's so nonchalant but frequent with how he inserts them into the conversation, by way of deception.
Fundamentally, I don't think it's wrong for the English to say, look, we would like England to be 90% English. We want to feel demographic security. It's right that we do have British native governance of the islands. It's not that we're going to say there can never be a Benjamin Disraeli or whatever. It's just they will be the exception rather than the rule, unlike the current crop of Conservatives and Labour who they've specifically shortlisted. Oh no, we need to get as many foreigners and ethnic minorities. No, you don't do that. Right? They've got countries of their own that they actually are running for their nationalist parties in. They can go do that there, thank you very much, because all you're doing is opening the door for exploitation of us, and that's what's happening. I'm tired of it, and everyone else is tired of it, and we don't deserve it. This shouldn't be the case. I
feel quite defeatist, I do, and I know that people don't like that. They want me to be like, let's fight, and I do, but it's just so many have come over.
Yeah, but a lot will go. When the tap is turned off, when we just stop admitting 1 million a year.
Or they stay and become impoverished, and Birmingham just becomes the country with all the rubbish everywhere.
I mean, maybe, but even then, that's not going to last forever. A lot of them are going to go home because they have connections back at home. They have the amount of remittances that they send back. Right? There's a genre of TikTok video, which is people in India and Pakistan showing the world the wonderful mansion that they live in and the 2 up, 2 down they live in Birmingham. Right? And they got that through working in or getting benefits in Britain and then sending that money home where it's a lot more valuable and then buying immense property. And it's like, sorry, these people are not just going to live impoverished in Birmingham forever. They will go.
It's a mess. But I see what you're saying. It sounds like you're positive then.
Yeah. All it takes is one government of genuine mad lads, right, who just understand, no, what we're going to do, we're going to destroy everything that Tony Blair did, right? Like the whole deporting illegal aliens. They're appealing to the Human Rights Act or the ECHR or whatever. Okay, well then repeal them.
Yeah.
Parliament is God of this country.
Well, there you have it. Andrew is feeling sort of defeatist, so it sounds like maybe you guys should just give up over there. Carl Benjamin, I think he's got some great points. Personally, I would say the English have the right to be 100% English in England if they want. You don't have to cap yourself at 90%. You don't owe anything to anyone. It is your land. I hope that you're able to regain sovereignty over it. Know that we are watching you from afar and working through our own similar struggles over here in the United States. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and help this channel grow.